a friend of the show, as I shared there. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with that statement from President Trump as he's encouraging Iranians to rise up against their government there. But what really would need to happen for a regime change?
Well, first of all, we're still waiting to hear who may have been killed in the first and second rounds of airstrikes that have taken place over the past several hours. It has been reported that Ali Khamenei has been targeted in the attacks, as well as the Iranian president, Pezeshkian. As well, there were reports that the head of the IRGC, as well as the defense minister, have been killed. We're still waiting for confirmation on many of these reports. So depending on who has been killed and who is still remaining standing inside Iran could depend on where power actually lies. So we still have to see whether the military can affect a regime change in Iran. But we did see over the past month or so, millions of people protesting against this regime. We saw the regime killing thousands, tens of thousands of people in the streets in order to try to cling to power. And it is hoped that many of the members of the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, could turn on this regime, recognizing that its moments are numbered.
I want to ask you this, Alex. This is coming in from one of our viewers, John. He says, what kind of range does Iran have for retaliation? Is the U.S. in any danger? And this is a question that has come up a lot with our guests, is really how is this going to impact Americans?
Well, we don't know if Iran has the intercontinental ballistic missiles that could reach the United States, although there are other ways of delivering weapons aside from intercontinental ballistic missiles. But what we have seen already in the past hours is that Iran has lashed out not only at Israel, but at American military installations across the Middle East, hitting inside Qatar, in Bahrain, in Kuwait, hitting at the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in the region, hitting in Saudi Arabia. So we're seeing that Iran is lashing out at American allies and American military installations all across the region.
I wanted to ask you about Iranian proxies. When we talk about Hamas, Hezbollah, could we see them getting involved in this? Or are they being told, don't get involved?
Well, I don't think they're being told not to get involved by Iran. I'm sure Iran wants all of the proxies, including the Houthis and Hezbollah particularly, to get involved. But what we have seen so far is that they have not yet gotten involved. Naim Qassem, who is the head of Hezbollah, he took over for Hassan Nasrallah when Nasrallah was assassinated. He gave a statement saying that that the Israelis and the Americans will receive brutal retaliation, paraphrasing, in return for their strikes, but meanwhile did not pledge to attack. And meanwhile, in Israel, which would be the #1 target of a Hezbollah counterstrike, we have not seen yet that Hezbollah is getting involved, which indicates that they are afraid for their lives. That means that Israel has established a significant deterrence to prevent their attack. And it should be remembered that Hezbollah's entire force posture was created in order to deter Israel from attacking against Iran. So the fact that Hezbollah has yet to join in the attack is a significant military achievement for Israel.
When we talk about allies, that's what our next question here is. This one coming in from Will, saying, who is Iran's strongest ally as a military threat?
Well, Iran has a lot of allies, and I wouldn't necessarily call them allies. I would call it more of an axis. And Iran is part of an axis that, includes Russia. We saw that Iran's foreign minister spoke to the Russian foreign minister early. But Russia has its own military problems in terms of its engagement with the Ukraine. I think the larger looming question is, could other potential members of the Axis, including China and or North Korea, get involved? That would be very scary. But I think that the assessment here is that China will recognize that Iran's days are numbered and that it's not an ally of theirs worth protecting at this point if the United States is committing to taking out the regime anyways. So right now, I mean, the Iranian allies that it has been its network of terror proxies. And the most powerful was Hezbollah, that was degraded significantly over the past year and a half by Israel, and also the Houthis. But so far, neither the Houthis nor Hezbollah have fired missiles at Israel.
I wanted to ask you about this 10 to 15 day window that President Trump did give Iran. He said, you guys have to reach a deal. We had seen these talks over the past few weeks, really not making much progress. Do you think that this strike was really due to those talks not progressing there?
Well, I think that the president had already decided that he was going to go towards a military escalation, military intervention, but did give the Iranians a last chance to get out of it. And certainly the Iranians did not take the threat of military intervention seriously. They could have and should have come to the table saying, hey, we want to survive here, whatever you want. You don't want us to have nuclear weapons? Okay, you come in and make sure that we don't have nuclear weapons. You don't want us to have ballistic missiles that can fly all across the region and even as far as Europe. Okay, we will destroy all of the ballistic missiles. We just want to stay in power. But that's not what they said. And in fact, we saw J.D. Vance say within the past week that in the last round of negotiations that the Iranians even failed to acknowledge many of the red lines that Trump had. And again, those were many red lines. It was nuclear weapons, it was ballistic missiles, it was the funding of regional terror proxies, as well as the murdering of their own civilians. So as long as Iran didn't even acknowledge what the Trump red lines were, I think that President Trump recognized that there would be no way to negotiate with a regime which is really just committed to using negotiations as a stalling tactic.
And Alex, really, how effective are military strikes in degrading Iran's nuclear capability long term here?
Well, I think that they can be very effective. I mean, we'd already seen that in the 12-day war in June that Israel and the United States set back the Iran nuclear program immeasurably. But what we had seen in recent months and weeks is that they were looking to restart the program. And because Israel did not touch the 60% enriched uranium, because that would pose a security risk to the people of Iran. So Israel decided not to hit that militarily. But now Israel, I believe, had fair intelligence that Iran was trying to use that uranium either to get it to full nuclear capacity or potentially to use it and create some kind of a dirty bomb, not a full nuclear weapon, but something that could still do immense damage even at only 60% capacity. But I think that what's happened since June has been the collection of tremendous intelligence. And we've even seen here over the last hours that, Israel knows when Iran is going to launch ballistic missiles at Israel. How do they know that? They have on the ground high quality intelligence. And I believe that they took this intelligence to the president saying that they were rebuilding their nuclear program, that they had sped up the production of ballistic missiles. And I think it's crossed the line for President Trump.
I do want to just remind our viewers here that we had gotten in this information that we do know there is going to be an emergency UN meeting that's going to be taking place in New York City a little bit later on today. What can we expect during that emergency meeting?
I think that you can expect that the United Nations Security Council is going to condemn the U.S. strikes against Iran. I mean, you have the whole Arab League, which is going to be opposed to a joint U.S.-Israeli strike. This is a body that has been almost since the beginning, an anti-Israel body to begin with. So they will assuredly be upset that the president of the United States is partnering with the state of Israel in this war, which started with Hamas's attack on October 7th, the UN citing Israel over and over again for its conduct during the war inside of Gaza. I don't think that the president nor Israel really care too much what the UN has to say about the strikes, but I think that we know that the UN is going to come out with some opposing views regarding the joint strike in Iran.
Here's another question, Alex, from Cynthia saying, if Iran does have nuclear weapons, how likely is it for them to use them, and what would a nuclear weapon deployment look like?
Yeah, I think this is the big threat here, and this is what Israelis are worried about, certainly, and others across the region. The belief is that if Iran has a nuclear weapon, they are likely to use it, especially if this is the final moment of their regime. There is a belief, it was taught by Muslim experts, including the former professor from Princeton, Bernard Lewis, who's the preeminent scholar on Islamic studies in the United States until his passing just a few years ago, that he called this a maniacal, messianic regime that believed that by provoking some kind of conflict that they could bring about their Messiah, the 12th Imam, the Mahdi. So there is a feeling that if they had a nuclear weapon, they could use it. Bernard Lewis had said that mutually assured destruction was not a deterrent, rather it was an inducement.
Another good question here that I wanted to share, this coming in from one of our viewers. We had seen the Pentagon was building up the largest force of American warships and aircraft in the Middle East, really that we had seen in decades. What is the U.S. doing to protect American nationals in the Middle East right now?
Well, we saw the United States issuing warnings even in Israel. We saw Ambassador Huckabee on Friday issuing a warning to American nationals in Israel, including staff of the embassy, to get out today, which I think was a severe warning that there was going to be an impending attack in the coming days or hours. It turned out to be hours. But we see the United States has, like you said, brought a massive armada into the Middle East, and surely the protection of U.S. assets, especially military assets and the air bases all across the region, has been a top priority. We see that the Gerald Ford is not stationed opposite Iran; it's actually stationed opposite Israel right now, and I believe it's there in as much of a defensive posture as it is an offensive posture.
And Alex, you let me know if I have to let you go here, but I do have a couple more from our viewers I would just like to ask you. This one from Blaine saying, will a sustained military operation in Iran diminish the U.S. weapons inventory to levels that affect our readiness to respond to other hotspots around the world?
Well, I guess it's possible. I think that that's something that that the United States military has taken into consideration. I would hope that the largest military in the world, the United States, a military which its doctrine is its ability to maintain multiple conflicts simultaneously, has taken account of all of the stock. I think it's a bit different than Israel, which, really we saw its stock dwindle down over the past 2 years, and the rapid need to restock. But I think that the United States, the largest military, and Trump in his speech that he gave, his video statement at the beginning of this campaign, he talked about how he had rebuilt the U.S. military during his first term to unprecedented levels, and I do believe that that is enough of a stock in order to maintain multiple fronts simultaneously. But I also don't think that this military campaign is going to be an extended military campaign. Certainly it can be several days, it might even be several weeks, but I do not believe that the President of the United States wants the United States military to be engaged in an operation that lasts longer than that.
Alice, I also just wanted to share this here with you because we had been talking with our previous guest about how Iran could retaliate. We have seen there already have been retaliatory strikes. But this question asking, what are the odds of Iranian cyber retaliation to U.S. bases in Europe and the Middle East?
Well, I think that that's been a major threat, as we know that the Iranians have attempted to do cyber attacks, both in the United States, certainly in Israel, over the last years and months. So I'm sure that the cyber defense protectorate in the United States and Israel are working overtime right now to try to block cyber attacks. And there was also reports that this morning here in the Middle East that the United States have used major cyber attacks in Iran. So we see that cyber is a major component of warfare today.
Alex, is there anything else you'd like to add about this before I let you go here? We do appreciate you staying on with us and answering all of these questions.
Well, I think it's really important to understand that this actually is very much in the interest of the United States. It's in the interest of the United States to see a peaceful Middle East. This Iranian regime, since 1979, has been the greatest destabilizing force in the entire region. They've destabilized Iraq, they've destabilized Syria, they've destabilized Lebanon, they've destabilized Yemen, and in turn destabilizing Saudi Arabia. They've destabilized Gaza. Their terror proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, have launched an incessant war, not just against Israel, but also have interrupted international trade. And I think that for the President of the United States, who's looking to set up alternative trade corridors to China, which include the IMEC corridor that starts in India, goes through the Middle East, and provides an alternative way to ship goods to Europe and the United States much cheaper, that settling down the Middle East is a major piece of the U.S. military interest and also the economic interest. So, I think that all those people out there that say, this is an Israel problem, they should take care of it. The United States is looking to protect all the allies of the United States across the Middle East, and taking out this regime is long overdue.
All right, Alex Traiman, always appreciate you joining the show. We do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.